Welcome back to another episode. So, today we are discussing how to stop being a slave to our own emotions, to the light, the illusion, and the 3D. So, have you noticed that when we're trying to manifest something, not every single time, but sometimes when we start to change our beliefs about something, so maybe you started trying a new meditation that you listen to at night, these affirmations, for example, and you start to experience the opposite in your physical reality. So, for example, let's say you're trying to manifest a specific person, and suddenly you're listening to all these affirmations about, being loved and adored and worshipped by this person and really getting into the feelings of it, right? And it feels good. And then you listen to it every single night, and then your reality starts to reflect the total opposite of what you want. So, for example, that specific person is just not even looking your way, or they're ignoring you, they're not, pursuing you, for example, or maybe they started a new relationship with someone, just the opposite, the complete opposite of what you want. So here's the thing, and it's so important to understand that because it's going to absolutely change your life. When this is happening, it's actually a good sign. It's actually a sign that your manifestation is working. And let me explain why. When we're trying to work with our subconscious mind and create a new belief system, right, to change our physical reality, what happens is that at the same time, when we're expanding our consciousness, because that's what we're doing, we're expanding our consciousness, we're getting closer to our higher selves, our ego, our conscious mind is going to try to prevent the change from happening, not from a place of testing you, when they're the universe is testing you, trying to make it hard. That's not what it is. It doesn't have any bad intentions. Here's the thing, it's trying to protect you. So your past self or your inner child, however you want to call it, your ego is trying to pull you back into your comfort zone. And even if your comfort zone is about all those negative beliefs about you, or maybe it was things that adults told you in the past when you were a kid, even if it's poverty mindset, even if it's super negative and draining, it's still your comfort zone. That's where your inner child is comfortable in, right? Because at some point they had to have this belief to keep themselves safe. So when you're experiencing the opposite of what you want, that's the challenge here, because a lot of people fall back into their old belief system, right? They get triggered, of course, because usually it's triggering because it's usually the opposite of what you truly desire. So obviously it's going to trigger you, but that trigger is actually a good sign, which means that you're expanding your consciousness. And here's the thing, and this is how you deal with that. If you shame yourself, right? If you start to call yourself an idiot, or you start to be negative, right? You're just pulling yourself back even more into the past, and that's actually how you stay stuck, basically, and you feel like you're just experiencing the same negative things over and over, but it's in different contexts or different people or a situation, but it's always the same scenario, right? So what you have to do is you have to reparent your inner child. So think of it let's say you're talking to your child, right? Let's say you have a kid or whatever, and they come to you with a basket with a little gift or something that they did, right? And they're like, look, mommy, look, daddy, look what I made, And let's say that this basket or this gift is filled with all these like negative beliefs, right? These like yucky things, right? You're not going to tell your child, "Oh my God, you're so stupid. Like, look how, I mean, you shouldn't." Like, I know some people talk like that to their kids, but it's horrible. It's abuse, right? But usually that's not how we're inclined to talk to our children. We're going to be like, "Oh, baby, thank you so much for the things that the little gift or the basket or whatever drawing that they've made," right? But you can be like, "But baby, this is not what we believe in anymore. This is super sweet. Thank you for bringing that gift to me, or thank you for making that drawing. But we don't believe that anymore. It doesn't bring joy and happiness. All right. So let's actually focus on what we want to create, what we want to believe. Let's do another drawing, not about a monster. Let's do a drawing about, like a little butterfly or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say that child brings you this like drawing with like blood and like monsters. You can be like, "Oh, baby, that's so nice. But, let's make a drawing that's a little bit more, positive," right? But see that approach, you don't tell your kid, "Oh my God, you're so dumb, you're so stupid." But that's what people do to themselves. So it's the same process. So when you're going through the absolute opposite of what you want, right? By being persistent with what you actually want, with your positive beliefs or what you want, this is how you have a breakthrough, and this can happen overnight. But you have to do gentle reparenting to yourself. You cannot shame yourself into this process. You cannot have any fear, fear-based mentality. You can be angry. It's like, always try to like observe it from a higher perspective of like you being the parent and you're looking at a younger version of yourself. Like, would you beat up yourself for not doing something right? You're like, "Oh, baby, that's so," like, like the nurturing side of us, like this is how you have to nurture yourself. And this is the same thing if you've done any things in your past, like mistakes, or if you had very low self-esteem and that made you take some bad decisions or decisions that weren't good for yourself. Instead of beating yourself up like mentally and being like, "Look how dumb you were," like blah blah blah, like don't talk like that to yourself. Be like, "Oh my God, baby, it's okay. You had a low self-esteem at that point in your life, but it's fine. Like, you learn, and now it doesn't reflect how you are anymore. Like, this is not who you are, and you've never been this way. You've always deserved love. You've always deserved to be adored and worshipped and provided for, regardless of how you felt about yourself. But it's fine now. It's not a reality anymore." So that's how you basically pull yourself out of this, I would say, slave consciousness, because that's what it is. A lot of people get triggered by their emotions so bad to the point where they start to use substances to numb themselves. And when you do that, you literally stay stuck. Like, you cannot move forward because you're not processing these emotions properly by parenting yourself. And this is a personal inner journey. A lot of people are like, therapy, blah blah blah, talking to a friend. Not in those specific instances. This is inner work, because if you talk to someone, especially someone with like a lower state of consciousness, for example, like they're not aware of where we are, who we are, right? And they're very pragmatic, very practical, they're just going to tell you, "Well, that specific person doesn't love you, so just move on." And then again, they're just going to confirm that old past belief that, you're not a creator. You cannot create your physical reality. You don't have any control. That person doesn't love you. No one's going to love you. Anyway, you're always going to be single. See, like that therapist, for example, is just reflecting your subconscious belief. Oh, my alarm. That was like a confirmation sound. But yeah, so that's why it's an inner journey, because if you still have those like past beliefs trying to like pull you back, right, in the past to keep you safe, anyone you're going to be talking to, like if you talk to like a family member, a friend, they're always going to confirm you, especially if you've known them for like a long time. They're going to be reflecting to you your past self, your past beliefs. So they're just going to reinforce, like, well, let go of that person, like they don't love you, like you can clearly see they moved on, blah blah blah. So it's really important to keep your manifestations for yourself. That's something I always tell people, like just keep moving in silence. Move in silence. Keep your manifestations to yourself. You have to be consistent as well in this journey. When you're building new neural pathways, you have to complete a full lunar cycle. So 28 days, 28 nights actually. You can also listen to it during the day, if you're doing something, for example, like 1 or 3 times a day, right? Or at night when you're sleeping, your subconscious mind is actually absorbing things. But while you're going through that full lunar cycle, right, that subconscious moon, right, it's all the same thing, it is normal to experience the opposite. And it's the same thing with money. If you're trying to go to another level with yourselves, for example, or you're trying to get over that plateau or whatever you're trying to do, it is absolutely normal, and it's actually a good sign when you're seeing things popping off. Like let's say you're trying to improve your business sales, and then you start to get hit with these like random bills or issues, but that's the thing, when we get triggered, that's the moment. That's literally the moment where you have to gently reparent yourself. And it's a process, obviously, because it might happen once or twice or multiple times during that full month, but we still have to do the process over and over. And of course, it gets better with time. Like, especially, for example, if you had these like all these horrible negative beliefs about love, and so when you're going through that process for 28 days, obviously you've overcame all these negative beliefs about love. So the next time you're trying to attract, for example, like better relationships, like friendships, or just like in general, like more love into your life, like you just want more love, it's going to be easier to manifest, because you're not going to have to go through all of these obstacles, right? Because you're going to have all these new neural pathways. So when you're going to try to manifest those things basically related to the same subject, it's going to be instant. That's what people mean when they say, oh, manifesting is easy or it's instant. This is the process. Like, once you get it, that's why, like, especially with money, like everybody, who had to like build themselves, basically, who are self-made, they know that the first like $100,000 is the hardest. It's the freaking hardest thing not because of like the money or the business or whatever, but it's like the obstacles and the people coming at you and these situations, and like it's like war, with yourself. But you don't know that sometimes, and you're like, what is happening, And it's difficult, especially if you don't know how the process works, because you're like, you might shame yourself and then go back, back and forth. But then once you get to that first million, and you're like, oh my God, that second million is the easiest thing ever. And that's what people mean. Like a lot of times I see people say that like on TikTok, but they don't explain it. And people in the comments are so confused. They're like, what do you mean it's easy to make $2 million? Like, what do you mean? This is what they mean. Once you have the new neural pathways to create wealth, it just gets easier. Like, it's not a big deal, because when it comes to our ego, our conscious mind, or our nervous system, it doesn't make a difference between earning $10 and earning $1,000,000. There's literally no difference. It's the same thing. It can be as easy or as difficult. Like, it's the same thing. But, most people have a lot of very deep rooted fear and limiting beliefs with money. So they're going to assume, oh, it's so hard to get $1,000,000. But no, like, you can literally attract $1,000,000 within a week. If you don't have like any limiting beliefs, or you've worked through them basically, and you've reprogrammed your subconscious mind in a consistent way to, for the full 28-day cycle, like, that's it. You can make it in a week. And a lot of people don't know that, and you cannot have a conversation with someone who has all those limiting beliefs, because they're going to be like, no, like, it's not true. And even if you show them evidence, they're going to be like, no, it's not true. And you're like, okay. And you just have to let people go through their own personal life and journey. But thankfully, we have social media, mystery schools. We have a lot of free education and knowledge that's really accessible for the people who are ready to evolve and to expand their consciousness, and also do it in a way that feels good. They do it because there are many different ways to go about it, but to do it in a way that's aligned with nature is actually the ultimate power move, right? So that's it for today's episode. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, and I'll see you tomorrow.